This podcast is not for the overly sensitive, the terminally optimistic, or anyone who thinks dating in your 50s is a whimsical romantic comedy. Listener discretion is advised.
This is Girls Can Tell with your host, Trent Erickson.
I just need to know where we stand. She's pacing with the phone in hand, checking for a reply that's 17 minutes late. He sent 6 texts in an hour, each one a little more desperate than the last. You might excuse it by calling it being invested, but psychology calls it anxious attachment. Welcome to part 2 of the series on why your relationships might feel like emotional roller coasters. We're getting into anxious attachment, how it messes with your dating life, and how to stop confusing anxiety for connection. Anxious attachment doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it's rooted in your childhood. Again, just like avoidant was. While avoidants often had parents who were emotionally distant or dismissive, anxiously attached kids had inconsistent caregivers. So one day mom or dad was warm and loving, and the next they were distant, distracted, or just really not there physically or emotionally for them. There's an experiment they did in the 70s where they took a baby, they briefly separated them from their mothers, and then reunited them. Anxiously attached babies would cry when mom left, but then when she came back, they weren't soothed. They would cling to her, but they would stay upset, sometimes even angry. It was because love was unpredictable for them. It was there, and then it wasn't, and then there was no guarantee it was going to stick around when it was there. This inconsistency wires your brain to expect love to be fragile. In attachment in adulthood, they explain anxiously attached individuals overactivate their attachment system in the face of threat, leading to chronic worry about the availability of responsiveness of others. So in other words, your nervous system is trained to freak out when a connection feels kind of shaky. So like a delayed text or a slightly flat tone or a canceled plan, it doesn't just sting a little bit, it feels like they're being abandoned. If you're anxiously attached, dating might feel like a constant emotional tug of war. You're not literally crazy, but to someone who doesn't actually get what's going on, your behavior probably looks a little overly intense, to say the least. Here's what's happening inside the anxious brain. Clinginess disguised as passion. You text multiple times in a row, want to spend every moment together, and need reassurance even after the smallest disagreements. You might tell yourself, I just love intensely. But it's not love, it's fear of losing them. Overanalyzing everything. You're rereading text over and over. And why did they use a period instead of an emoji? Did I just say something wrong? Did I piss them off? A 10-minute delay can spiral into a full-blown panic. Fixating on slights, a missed call or rescheduled date or something just feeling off can send you into a tailspin. You assume it's about you and that you've messed up somehow. Fear of being too much. You apologize for your emotions, for asking for clarity, or just wanting to feel secure. You're terrified your needs will scare them away, but you can't stop feeling anxious. And chameleon mode, which is when you mold your identity to match theirs, like you binge their favorite shows or adopt their hobbies, even shift your personality to feel worthy. Now, the worst part is that anxiously attached people are often drawn to avoidance because the push-pull dynamic feels weirdly familiar. It's like your childhood all over again, constantly chasing someone who's emotionally unavailable, hoping this time you'll finally win. It's a game that never ends, with everybody feeling like they got gut punched by Larry Mondello too many times. And yeah, I just dropped a Larry Mondello reference. Deal with it. Most of you probably don't know who that is, and you probably shouldn't. You see, he was the beaver's friend. I won't explain it. That even sounds worse. Let me set the scene. Let's call this person Trent. Now, Trent is dating someone who's completely hot and cold. One day they're all in, they're planning dates, sending sweet texts constantly, making future plans. The next, they go on their weekly work trip, and they become a different person altogether. Distant, vague, silent, every time. Even after multiple conversations about how that feels. Now, that kind of whiplash would make anyone anxious, even someone like Trent, who normally leans secure, but for someone already wired anxiously, it's like emotional torture. You start asking yourself things like, what did I do? Or how can I fix this? So then you send more texts, plan something special for when they get back, anything to feel connected again, but nothing really feels like enough. The anxious avoidant pairing is practically a sitcom plot. One person craves closeness, the other runs from it, one chases, the other ghosts. It feeds itself. The anxious person panics and the avoidant shuts down. Both walk away feeling like they're victims. And it's not just emotional, but it's also physical. Research shows anxious attachers have heightened amygdala activity when they sense rejection. That's your brain's fear center lighting up, so no, you can't just play it cool. Your nervous system is screaming at you. If any of this feels familiar, know that anxious attachment is a learned response, not your identity and not your fate either. The goal here is earned, secure attachment, learning to feel safe in relationships without needing constant proof that you're not being abandoned. Here's how to start breaking the cycle. Pause before reacting. The 2 a.m. urge to send a long emotional text? Well, don't. Breathe instead, and then ask yourself, is this about something right now, or is this something in the past? Either journal or vent to a friend. So give yourself a place to process that isn't your partner's inbox. Name your triggers. So when did the panic spike? Was it after intimacy, when they don't initiate plans? And then track those patterns. Choose better partners. Yeah, no shit. Stop chasing people who make you feel like you're auditioning for their attention. Secure partners might seem boring, but that's just your nervous system missing the drama. If you're dating someone with anxious attachment, don't dismiss their needs. Saying they're needy or too much, that's just detrimental. Reassurance without enabling. Try something like, I care about you and I'm here, but I also need some space. Be consistent. Small, predictable behaviors build safety. Safety calms anxiety. Sometimes the healthiest move is to leave. If your partner can't or won't meet you half or part of the way, stop torturing yourself and get out. One tip you might want to try this week. So after a trigger, wait 1 hour before responding or reaching out. In that hour, write down what you're feeling, then reread it. 90% of the time, it cools down on its own and you don't need to do anything after that. Anxious attachment isn't romantic. It's your nervous system in survival mode. So next week, we're going to dive into secure attachment, what it looks like, and why you keep calling it boring when it's actually probably what you've been needing all along. Drop us a voicemail at girlscantellpodcast.com by hitting the mic button on the bottom right corner, or you can email us at girlscantellpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe on all the things at Girls Can Tell Podcast. You know where to find it. And don't think you're asking too much if you're an anxious attached person, and it's not a death sentence. You can heal yourself from this. You're really just asking for the right person that can show up and kind of understand your struggles or be willing to try. Until next time, or whatever I say at the end, which is not this. All right, Holly. We'll go for a walk.